so glad that you could join us today for our second part of Slam Dunk Without the Junk. So don't worry if you weren't here for part one. We are going to kind of do a little recap and tell you that what the program is about is super recycling in the city of Midwest City. So Republic Services partnered with the city of Midwest City, and we did a contest giving away $5,000 worth of gift cards to people that were recycling properly. It was amazing. We had such a great reception. So the city of Midwest City and Republic Services got out and checked carts, and that's what was in the first video. We actually had little stickers that we put on the carts if they were a winner and they broke down their recycling, everything was empty, clean, and dry, then they got a $25 gift card. Who doesn't want one, right? Everybody was geared up to try to win a $25 gift card. And then we had another sticker that said, you know what, you're almost there, but these are the things that you have in your recycling that shouldn't be there. It was like plastic film. It was, we had some clothing in there. We had several items in there that should not go in your recycling. And we call that wish recycling sometimes, but really the message was, it was about educating your community on what to recycle right, and make sure that you look at your program to see what should be recycled with your program. And today, so we call that the walking part. We did the walking, we were out on the streets. Today we're going to talk. We are going to visit with Midwest City about what went good, what went bad, what we would do different. It is a great program that can be replicated. It really will help the long-term sustainability of your program. I just really want to thank again the Chickasaw Nation and David for filming this. I want to thank OKRA for coming out and being a part of this and really promoting this project that Midwest City and Republic Services did as a partnership. And now we'll get started with the second part of it, which is the behind the scenes and really how we put everything together.
I'd love to introduce you to the wonderful ladies at Midwest City who answer the calls that come in about recycling and what to recycle and what not to recycle. This is Brittany and this is Donna. I've known them a long time. They are wonderful. I'm telling you, they are a wonderful asset to Midwest City. So Brittany, have you been getting calls about the recycling and what's acceptable and not acceptable?
Of course, every single day. So we get calls whenever they receive the tags on their carts with the X's and what is not allowed in their carts. And so we just have to explain to them what they can and cannot put in their carts. We have our cheat sheets on all of our desks of what they can and cannot put in their cart right here. If there's something that they ask that we're not sure about, we just ask for their name and their number, and we'll give them a call back once we get that answer for them.
That's fantastic. That is amazing. And I know both of you have been out with us checking carts, and I know I was with Donna yesterday. So Donna, what are you seeing out there?
It was really interesting to find out that the customers are getting involved. They're trying to do the right thing, and a lot of times they just need education.
Right.
They're just wanting to help the environment.
Right.
Very important to us at this time. So.
Yeah. And it was great for you to see it, wasn't it?
It was so fun. You didn't expect all that, and I'm not in a truck very often. Usually I'm right behind. That made it really interesting, and just find out that it's really difficult. They really do a great job out there,
right,
taking care of what they can recycle and can't.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're so thankful for them. So it's a huge part of the program that they answer these questions and we get the education out there. And I just wanted to shine the light on these ladies because they do an awesome job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have notes.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome again. I'm so glad that you guys came out with us this morning and it was a beautiful day. We were wondering if it was going to rain, but it didn't. And we had a wonderful day. I just want to tell you, this is how many customers that we got to touch this morning. These are our super recyclers, and these are the people that got information just in one day. So I want to tell you a little bit about the program. OKRA is so great to have the Chickasaw Nation here, and David with the Chickasaw Nation is wonderful. He has followed us today to find out about the program and what we're doing in OKRA. I think you guys will be really interested in what we found in the carts, but I want to start by saying Republic is so blessed to have a wonderful partnership with Midwest City. This is Paul Streets with Midwest City, if you don't know him. This is Carrie, the Assistant Public Works Director, which I want to tell you, she has been out every day walking these streets this week, as well as Jerry Summers, who has coordinated the mapping, and we'll kind of talk about that because we have to be ahead of the trucks before we get out there. So he's pinpointed our gathering places every day and where we're going to go. But just to tell you a little bit about the program, this program is really to reward those people that are recycling right. But most of all, it's to get those people that are maybe not quite there yet and give them some education on how we can get them there and how we can make this program long-term sustainable, right, Paul?
Absolutely.
The city of Midwest City is very dedicated. I know that you've seen this councilman out today, the city manager was out today, Paul. I mean, I cannot tell you how awesome Midwest City is to have their people invested in making recycling long-term sustainable. I will say hands down that this city is phenomenal. I so appreciate it. If you are not a resident here, you should be so proud to have these people working for you. It has been wonderful. I will tell you that nationwide, 50% participation in recycling is the norm. Here in Midwest City, 76%. Woo! I mean, fantastic. I mean, and it's due to these people and the education that we get out there. Paul and I have done many educational things before in the past, and we will continue to do so. And that's what I think makes your program so successful.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think just getting out there and just your people being involved, and we'll talk later with the ladies out in the front who get the frontline calls and really educating them. But I have to give a shout out because while we were walking this week, Carrie would stop and while if somebody would come out, she would explain to them like what does and doesn't go in there. It kind of gave us a one-on-one experience with your residents. Yeah. So fantastic, phenomenal. Well, we've done this before, not quite as successfully. But we've done this before, and Paul came to me and said we were really at Republic. It didn't quite go so well last time. It was some good and some bad, but we just didn't have the manpower out there on the streets that you guys have provided us. And Paul said, "Look, Crystal, I'm going to put Jerry in charge. And Carrie, and we want to be vested in this. We want to be vested in the community. We want to make this better." So I said, "Okay, Paul."
Give it a shot.
I was a little hesitant, but I love working with this man. I know he'll do what he says he's going to do. Yeah. So we kind of got our heads together. We came up with a time frame. We wanted to do it, like if you're going to do this program, you want to do it when it gets cooler. And thank goodness we've had a great week this week. So their program is an every other week recycling program. So twice a month we're in there. So we wanted to make sure that we got a good cross section of everyone, right? We wanted to make sure it's random. Jerry, came up with the sections that we were going to be in. And like I said, we have to go to sections where we're going to be there before the truck gets there. Our trucks start at 7 in the morning. That's why we ask that you have your cart out by 7, because if your truck comes by and it's not out, we've seen some people pulling them out late. But
this morning.
But we try to let them know, hey, get your container out there. So Jerry was really good about doing the sections. We took volunteers. We had volunteer sign up. We worked really closely. We want to be able to give something back to the residents that are doing really well. So Republic took $5,000, gave it to the chamber, and I am telling you, Midwest City Chamber needs a shout out as well.
Absolutely.
They have gone above and beyond. They have reached out to their businesses. So every dollar we spent went back into Midwest City. That $5,000 went back into Midwest City. We got some great places. I know we like to eat at Bricktown Brewery.
Oh, yeah.
Swig was on there. Surf was on there. So some great Panera. I mean, we got some great gift cards through the chamber in Midwest City. So when we do get a super recycler, we went by and I showed you how we tagged those carts. Well, at the end of the day, we separate all these out. I go back and I input these into the system. into just an Excel spreadsheet, and I send them to Brittany, to Jerry and Carrie, and they get me the names because we don't want them throwing away. You know, if you get something that says resident, they're going to throw it away. So we want to personalize it and give them their name. So we put their name on it, we mail them the gift card, and that way they'll have it within 2 weeks, right? Because we put this on there saying you're going to be expecting it, you're going to get it. I do want to mention, and I kind of would like Carrie or Paul to speak to, the city is so behind their getting recycling going in the right direction that they have made a proclamation, and where they are going to honor the super recyclers that we have found. So would either of you like to speak to maybe the proclamation? I think, Carrie, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. So November 15th is America Recycles Day. And so as part of that, during the October council meeting, the mayor's going to issue a proclamation recognizing America Recycles Day, and then basically honoring and acknowledging all of the super recyclers that are in the community. They've all been invited, so when they receive their gift card, on their letter it says, please join us if you can at the council meeting so we can recognize your efforts for recycling. And so we're also going to have their names on PowerPoint behind the mayor so that everybody knows we have a lot of people in the community who are doing the right thing for recycling. And hopefully that encourages those that are out there that maybe need a few tweaks to that next year they'll be on that list.
Right. Perfect. That is so wonderful. I love that the city's doing that. Like I said, it just helps promote the sustainability, right? I mean, it just puts that emphasis on this is what this community believes in. So with that being said, I will tell you, Carrie and I, and we were talking, I mean, Jerry brought me the big stack just now. Today only, so we were hoping for 200 the whole time super recyclers for the 2 weeks, right? That's 5,000 in gift cards. We're already at 130. Is that what you said, Jerry?
Yes.
For this week, 4 days, we've had 130. That is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So we are thinking probably 700 to 800 people have been touched, that have gotten educational information. I did tell you, you saw this morning where we X'd some carts that were full of trash and garbage or didn't have the recycling in there. I'd like Jerry to actually speak to that because it's a program he works, his people work very closely with. They are going to use this as kind of their first strike, hopefully their first strike, right, Jerry?
Yes,
as information to get back to them about what they're doing wrong and about how we can turn that around. So if you'll kind of tell them about your 3-strike rule, which I think is wonderful,
Okay.
I'll let you kind of take it over.
Yeah, we're just trying to encourage our residents to use the recycling cart correctly. And we have a 3-strike process. First one is we will come out and we will inform you of what is recyclable and what is not, and give a courtesy pickup. The second strike is you get put on a list. We check it periodically, and the second strike would be we come back out and inform you again, and then we're going to charge you $20 to dump the trash out of the recycle bin. The third strike consists of a $20 charge, and then we remove the recycle cart, and you lose the privilege of recycling. Right. And so we're just really trying to encourage them that we do offer a second cart for a minimal fee, but we do want you to use the recycling cart for recyclable material.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to interject. Obviously, Jerry had come to us and said, look, there's got to be something we can do. And for those cities that are single stream, most of them, in order to make those work, you have to have mandatory participation, which means everybody gets a charge. Everybody has to pay the cost of recycling at the curb, and everybody gets a cart. And you don't get to opt out necessarily. And for Midwest City, one of the challenges is we didn't really have a way to regulate that. In other words, if somebody put trash in the recycling bin, we didn't have a way to charge them to dump that can. So we actually changed our ordinance. We went to the Ordinance Review Committee. We had support from the City Manager's Office, both Tim Lyon, Vaughn Sullivan, and Ryan Rushing, and with the help of our City Attorney, Don Meisch. We actually put together some language that allowed us the flexibility to go ahead and regulate that issue out at the curb. And Jerry was very, very adamant that he didn't want to just regulate. He didn't just want to charge people. he wanted to use this as a mechanism to help educate the customer. We have some wonderful folks that work customer service in our Public Works office. You'll get a chance to meet them later, but they are our front line when it comes to customer service. And so a lot of times, once Jerry has an address, he'll communicate it to one of the ladies in customer service, and then they have a one-on-one conversation. And they'll help explain not only the resources that are available on the website, but then things that we can do to help them facilitate a much better recycling stream, a cleaner recycling stream, which is really important to make single stream successful.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. It is wonderful as a contractor, right? And as you know, as a board member of OKRA, we're all board members of OKRA right here. And you know, we're so passionate about it, but it's so great to have a city that partners with us, because all that does is make sure that what you are doing in your city will be long-term sustainable, right? So the people that really don't care and that are using that as a trash cart, you're finding those people, and it's not going to hurt your program, right? It's actually going to help clean up your program where you know, hopefully later on they'll come back and learn at some time, but giving them 3 chances to clean it up, I think, is wonderful. I know a couple of cities do this in Oklahoma, and it's really improved and helped their programs.
Yeah, I will say we do need to give a little credit. Actually, Matt Faulkner, who's the solid waste manager for the city of Stillwater, his program is one of the ones we used kind of as a model for this. But ultimately, it was Jerry who said, "Look, we've got to find a way." Actually, Jerry and Brittany, they were very adamant. Said, "We've got to." They're passionate, which is what we need. We need people that are passionate about sustainability and recycling. And so they said, "Look, we've got to find a way to solve this problem. We can't keep putting trash. You can't keep having stuff dumped in the recycling that can't be there." So. Right.
And with that being said, I kind of want to talk about some of the things. And Sarah, I know you walked today too. And Carrie, you've walked every day. We've had a good cross about what. So what are some of the things you're seeing that are common in the recycling?
Yeah, so some of the things that aren't recyclable that people think are, that are often end up in there. A lot of plastic film and plastic wrapping.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of those. Today was styrofoam egg cartons, because we had a gentleman step out and ask us about it, because he was really concerned. He wanted to know how well he did. And so we had a chance to say, okay, here are the things. And so an egg carton. He's like, I swear there was a recycle symbol on there. I said,
there is.
there probably is. I think you're exactly right. But unfortunately for us, for this single stream process, we cannot recycle those.
Right.
Glass is the same way. It's really confusing for folks, because glass used to be allowed in the cart, and now it's not. And so it's just a matter of saying, you know, if you want to recycle this, there's a way to do it. They can collect it separately and bring it to our facility, our collection facility here off of 15th.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah. I love that. And you're right, because, and you mentioned something really key. Every program is different. So just make sure you know what to throw in your program. If it's something that the next city over, you think, oh, they throw that away, I can go ahead. Different program, don't do it. Only throw away what's in your program. And I love it. I actually have not, I came across one piece of glass the whole time. I think you're having the facility open is a success, and because it's kept the glass out of the stream. And we've all seen, I know Ellen and Sarah, we've all seen, you know, when you do commingle glass, it can be a mess, right? And not very usable, but this way is fantastic. So we're so glad that it can be recycled that way. That's a fantastic thing. So Jerry, what are you seeing?
I see a lot of old residents that are recycling, and some of the struggles that they face is
wiser residents.
but
I know he's not talking about me.
I know he's
right? No.
it's just they're trying to keep up with the changes.
Right.
And so, you know, us educating them, putting it on the website is definitely helping, and that's where we direct them to go to keep up with the changes. But we also inform them that we do have a cardboard recycling yard and a glass recycling yard.
Right.
Here on 15th and Douglas. So just, you know, and some of them have moved in from Arizona, from California. And when we are lucky enough to interact with these residents, you know, we learn something from them too.
Right.
So as you were saying, you got to learn the program. You know, each city They may have similar programs, but they're not identical.
You're right.
So the residents have to learn the right program.
Well, it's challenging too because we've had some evolution even in our program. So for some that don't know, when it's been several years ago now, actually, when we had to actually take things out of our recycling stream that were there, glass being one of them, and plastic bags. So there was a time when that number plastic, so used to 1 through 6, like 1 through 5, was allowed. 6 is polystyrene, it was never allowed.
Right.
It actually, to my knowledge, no single stream recycling in the nation allows polystyrene or number 7s.
Right.
But in this case, we were able to do 1 through 5. Well, a lot of folks had a hard time because those bags that you get when you go to, like if you go to the grocery store and you don't request, you can't get paper, those plastic bags were allowed. Well, we ended up in a situation where the end user for that commodity was no longer available. We had to take it out of the recycling stream and take out glass. Well, the challenge is once you've helped people understand what they need to put in the can and you've done all this education, and especially some of those wiser folks in the city, they're great at following the rules. But when you change those rules, it's a little harder to adapt. It's a little harder to communicate, hey, these are the new expectations. So it's interesting that Carrie mentioned there was polyfilm in a lot of the cans. I too saw polyfilm. So but not plastic bags. So people are getting the message. Not a lot of glass, not a lot of plastic bags, but they still aren't connecting the dots that polyfilm, plastic film of any kind, creates a problem when it gets to the MRF. It clogs up the MRF. Also isn't a commodity that we can recycle. It ends up being treated as trash. So that's the good news. And you're right, it's hard, but that front line, that being out there to be able to talk to them and help them understand, I guarantee we go back next year, they'll have clean recyclables.
I agree completely. I will tell you one thing I have seen. I need to own a pizza restaurant because people love them some pizza. So this is the one thing I see. Soiled pizza boxes. If you're going to put a pizza box in there, take the lid off that's not soiled. And if it's good pizza, and this person that I'm talking to, if it's good pizza, it's going to be soiled on the bottom. So you want to throw that away. But if they would take those off, because a lot of times it's soiled and they can't use the pizza box that's soiled. But we have lots of pizza boxes that we see. The other thing I see is people do not break down their cardboard. And the really, really sad thing is, and I know I've talked about this before in other educational things, we need cardboard. We are so far behind in recycling cardboard, and we need that cardboard recycled. Well, it's so sad when you don't break down your cardboard and we look over into your trash and there's stacks of cardboard because you didn't break it down in your thing. So break down your cardboard. The other thing that I think I really have seen just doing this audit, you can have a great piece of cardboard and my kids, they're 22 to 28, they're not kids, but when they come over, they love Gatorade or, those. And so you see people leave that film around the Gatorade thing, and that is not, we see a ton of that in the recycling. If they would just pull that plastic off and throw that away, the cardboard is wonderful. The other thing that I've seen are the rings, and I asked Carrie the other day, I said, what is that called? The rings that you carry the Gatorade, the packing rings, as I've seen. But you know what? Pretty much it's been pretty great here, I'm just gonna say. Just some little mistakes. People, when they have packing, I've seen some styrofoam and plastic bags in there, just because they don't take them out and throw that away. So Sarah, what did you see today that needs to be cleaned up, or what was something common that you've seen?
I think besides what's already been mentioned, I saw a few people that were so close. They had done everything right, including breaking down their cardboard, but they had like a whole bag of aluminum cans, so in a trash bag.
Right.
So just a few that with bagged recycling.
Right, just keep it out. Paul, what about you? What did you see this morning?
Well, I saw a bag of clothes.
Oh, yes!
I'll admit that maybe Goodwill would have been a better place for that.
Yes,
I'm not
absolutely.
Really sure.
Recycle, but at Goodwill. Not at the curb.
And cushions, that was another thing.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how the cushions end up in the recycle. Yeah. The trash can was very empty, but they had cushions in the recycle bin. I would say that I want to echo, so the plastic film is a big thing. We do see that. I also did see some food scraps. There were some food scraps, people that they just weren't thinking, I don't think, or maybe they didn't have control over what was. A lot of times in a home, if you've got a family of 4 or 5, parents might be pretty good at it, or the kids, but unfortunately, if they're not the only ones putting stuff in the container, then I think we get some other things in the container, some other contamination. And I think the good news is most everything I saw, I would say over 80% of what I saw was good recycling.
Yes,
which is
absolutely.
great, because that's ultimately, that impacts the cost, not only to
At the end of the day,
contractor, but
yes.
ultimately to the customers. And so that was but it was pretty for me.
Yes.
It was a bright spot, because I was concerned, I'll admit. I was thinking, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
this is going to be on film. I hope.
I hope it's going to be good.
Correct. But thankfully,
Yes.
we did have some great recyclers this morning. So.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add, one of the super recyclers that got a tag from me had even cleaned out their peanut butter jar, and you guys all know.
Oh,
We
yes.
preach that you need to
Yeah.
clean out your recyclables, but peanut butter is probably the worst one.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that was definitely a super recycler.
Oh, absolutely a super recycler. Well, so
Crystal, can you talk about pet food bags, dog food bags?
Yes.
Bags? We saw several of those.
we saw several of those big ones that are not recyclable in this program. I know we had talked, some programs do take them. They are not recyclable in this. They actually, the ones that we saw had kind of a coating on them. So those are not recyclable. I know you think, and one thing I haven't seen here, but I've seen before when I do this, is usually kitty litter boxes are, like you'll see those in there. But yes, those sacks are not recyclable in this program, and which is kind of fooling because you do think they're paper, but they do have that coating on the outside of them that makes them not recyclable. And I know that we've had this question, like we've had some brown paper bags. Absolutely. If a lot of people don't want to put their stuff just in the recycle, but it should be empty, clean, and dry. And hey, one of the big telltales, if it's not empty, clean, and dry, is when you open that can, it smells, right? Like the smell test. So if you open that can and it's got unless it's beer cans, right? Like you can smash your beer cans, that odor doesn't, and we're good with that. But you can kind of tell if it's if it has a little smell and odor to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing I do want to do, because I would love for this program to be duplicated, right? I know Jerry has said we hope we do this program every year, and we're going to kind of track the success of it. So with this program, we are tracking all of this. We know what our percentage right now is of trash that that gets taken to the MRF, where we recycle our products, and where they're separated out and then sold. If you don't know what a MRF is, that's what it does here.
Materials recovery facility.
Absolutely. And
Watch our previous OKRA video for the tour.
Yes, absolutely.
yes,
Yeah, that one.
yes.
Yeah.
And so it gets separated out there, and then the trash. So we know what our trash is right now. We know, and so we want to see what kind of an impact this has, because I really feel with this education that we're doing, you guys, that this is it's just great. I mean, it's a great stepping stone to keep doing this and keep the education going, especially with your city being so involved in moving this forward. I think it's a huge needle mover, right? Huge, huge needle mover. So I really want to talk about, so this can be duplicated. Hopefully we can duplicate this and do this other places. But one thing I want to talk about, some misnomers or maybe some things that we think about, like if you open up a recycling cart and they've got some folded cardboard and maybe some empty things and they only have a little bit. So here in Midwest City, we do the recycling on the same day that you do the trash. And so I always, because I don't count them out. They don't have to have a full cart. It may be 1 or 2 people, right? Mm-hmm. So I look in their trash cart, and if they have more recycling than they do trash, and they've done everything right, they are a super recycler. So if you're ever doing this program, don't count somebody out. Absolutely. If they don't, because hey, if they're recycling more than they're throwing away trash, they're a super recycler in my eyes. Absolutely. So any other things or positives that you can take away from this? I mean, out doing this?
Absolutely. Here's what I'll tell you. I think it's pretty challenging, obviously, as a contractor or somebody that does work in the recycling or solid waste business. You understand, I mean, the OKRA board, we get it because it's something we kind of eat, live, and breathe. We're passionate about it. But one of the things I got to see firsthand is the effect, the impact to volunteers and people that aren't, this is not what they do for a living.
Right.
They might do other things. We had a council person, actually, I think he's in the film this morning, Rick Favors. He even though he understood recycling,
right,
But when he walked the street and got a chance to see it firsthand, the light bulb came on. He understands that connection to the customer and behaviors and decisions that they're making. It made sense. And I'll tell you, if there's anything that I've learned is that the people that are involved, I know the hard part is getting people out there. It's 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody, they're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? 7 o'clock, donuts and coffee, something to be there.
Yes.
But the thing is, it doesn't take long. Once they get out there and they get a chance to see it, they get to walk the streets. It's pretty amazing. It's an incredible feeling, and it also gives people a chance to be invested in the community in ways that they haven't been before. So seeing people volunteer, you've got to have volunteers. I would say so. If we were going to do this again, we did it in a very short window. I want to commend Crystal Chamber, especially Shayna, and obviously our marketing department, Susan.
Oh,
Lori,
Susan was amazing.
and so was Josh. The fact of the matter is you've got to have all hands on deck. You have to have everybody committed. You can't have somebody that's half in, half out. Everybody has to be willing. And thankfully, Carrie and Jerry both said, you know what, Paul, let's do it. They were committed when I talked to them after Crystal and I had a conversation. And literally, we've turned this thing around. So less than 6 weeks went from an idea, something that had not gone successfully before, and said, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right.
Yeah.
6 weeks later, here we are.
We're
out there in the field making a difference. One house at a time, one mind at a time.
Right.
So that's a great experience. But I would say you got to have people that are willing to volunteer. Yeah. We actually went to council. That's something else I think it's part of the story that we need to tell. So Crystal came to our council meeting and stood up there. We got a chance to stand up there and say, look, all right, hey, we're doing a super recycling program. Who here on the council is willing to be there? And every single council person raised their hand. That's the kind of involvement, that's the kind of investment that you need from not only elected officials, but then personnel. All right, thanks to Tim Lyon, actually, who gave us the green light to have staff that were actually exempt. They were willing, he said, you know what, anybody that's a mid-level supervisor and above, have them come out. They can come out and walk the streets, and they were able to do that. And so that's been a great experience as well. We've got some staff, and I'll tell you, sometimes that's the challenge. You have people that understand it maybe, or other people in the city that work in other departments that don't touch it. They might kind of have an idea, but now they're invested. They're invested in a way that they hadn't before.
Right, I totally agree. And kind of the flip side of that, so I'm so thankful for my boss, David Baker and Republic Services for letting me, for giving me the money to do this. And letting me, and so I am so impressed because they've came out by droves, right? Like the whole operations department has came out. Darren Stark, who heads it, has been out here. We've had people from the landfill, which they usually don't do this. So we had a landfill, James Davis from the landfill came. We have our accounting department coming next week. But this is the other thing I'm really thankful. So I get to work with these wonderful people all the time, right? And which is wonderful, but not everybody on my team does. So it's honestly given us a great way to interact with each other and get to know each other. Besides me, right? That you get to interact.
The face of Republic Services.
Yes. Oh, yes. And they may see that different. But it's been great because just the camaraderie and the interaction and getting to know each other, I think, has benefited both of us on both sides. Like it's always great to have a face a face with a name, right? When you talk to somebody.
When you call somebody, for, hey, this is the situation I'm dealing with. All of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, yeah, I remember because we got a chance to go do this.
Right. And I love it because like Brittany and Donna have been out. I know Amanda who actually answers the phones and educating. And I do have to give a shout out. So Mary, this is what happens. A lot of times this week you've gotten calls here, right? And so if we've marked something, they've given a call back. And so I've actually heard Mary walking through, this is why you can't recycle this, which that's another key thing about doing this recycling audit is on the back end, they have somebody that is calling, giving information that will benefit the resident. And hey, while we don't love having a ton of calls, we do love the education part of it, right? And so that's just saying, hey, we're excited about recycling. You're a resident that wants to know, and here at Midwest City, they're ready to tell you, hey, and encouraging. Carrie's really good about writing, great job, great breaking down the cardboard. Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of training that goes into this event, like Paul said. I do want to give a shout out. So we did a training, Jerry and I did a training just to tell them how to do the carts at the chamber. It was set up by Susan and Shayna. I mean, they did everything. They filmed it. So if you couldn't be there, you could watch it. And just a lot of training goes in on how you have to do everything every day and walk them through that process. And just to be able to answer about the gift cards, because you will get calls about the gift cards, like when are they coming in? When will I get them? So we keep in contact every day about, hey, I've mailed these out, just so they can know, like the first batch is mailed out. Just important things to know about the audit. I think the audit was great. I think it was to educate our customers. I think it's eye-opening to know what people are throwing away, how we need to correct them. It'll actually give us a way to kind of, we found some areas, not today, but Carrie and I, we found some areas, Jerry, that we can maybe hone in and focus our message to them, and maybe some trouble spots or some areas that we can focus the message to. So this audit has given us that insight, just being out, seeing the areas and seeing who is recycling what, will help us tailor our message moving forward. So with that, I'll kind of open it up. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add?
Well, the most common thing that I experienced doing the audits was the 3 through 7s.
Yeah.
If they didn't have that in there, they were a super recycler.
Right.
So they're very close.
They're very, very close. So, and this is what I do want to speak to that when Paul brought that up earlier. We did change that. And unfortunately, we're not a stagnant market because we are tied to the commodities. And so that's a whole different concept for people to get used to in trash, right? That what you're throwing away actually goes up and down in price. So this is the thing with that. Before, at Batliner, which is who we use, we could mingle those 3 through 7s in that, Jerry's been in the recycling business a long time. Those really weren't accepted back then, but he could mingle those in a bale and ship those off and mix those in. Well, when they got the sorter put in, the sorter will not let you take those at all anymore. And with China's sword, we had to really clean up our bales. So our bales had to be a lot cleaner to sell them. And the good thing here is that we resell everything within the United States except
Domestic market.
Yes, it's a domestic market except for mixed paper. So the aluminum cans they throw away can be back on the shelf in 60 days. I mean, a lot of the stuff you see can be back on your shelf in no time, which is amazing to me. But yeah, that's a good key thing, Jerry. I mean, they're so close. I saw so many of them that were so close. But I can't thank you enough. I cannot thank the Chickasaw Nation. We actually, David, they don't get any better than David filming with the Chickasaw Nation. So I want to shout out, thank you for Ellen for coordinating everything. We couldn't do hardly anything at OKRA without Ellen. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to share our partnership and what we've experienced. I think it's going to be great for anybody that wants to duplicate this or maybe do it. I would say do whatever, what Paul has done and what they've done, and get your city officials involved. That is key. It's so important for them to see what's going on out at the curb and to make sure it's long-term sustainable. But if you're not a member of OKRA, I just encourage you to become a member of OKRA. It's a way to move recycling forward in Oklahoma. We're always looking for ways to do new things. Having your city part of OKRA will just help us get there. So or business too, right? A business too. So we just ask that you be part of it. Again, thank you, Chickasaw Nation, and thank you for joining us today.
And if you're watching from a community outside of Midwest City, check your program and see what they take.
Great idea.